Good afternoon. Distinguished guests, all protocols observed. My name is Christina. I work for DAI. I'm a senior governance consultant. And you're all probably wondering at the moment who DAI is. And that's a great sign for Spark, I think. Because DAI is the company that's implementing Spark. And I think that no one of you know who DAI is a wonderful sign of all the accomplishments that Spark is leaving behind and that we're carrying on in the next program, which we're very excited about. So I would like to tell you a little bit more about DAI and just tell you some of our approaches to working. But before I do all that, I would like to first of all congratulate all of you for this great work that has been done, very hard work over the last 7 years, and all this great knowledge and all the great lessons learned and all the impact that has been made over the last 7 years. So all of you have been very involved in this, so congratulations to all of you. And DAI has always been particularly proud of the Spark program, and we're very excited to continue the journey over the next years. So DAI really is a global development company that works on the front lines of international development. Our vision really focuses on making sure and contributing to a process where communities become more prosperous, better governed, more fairly governed, safer, healthier, and more sustainable. And I think Spark has made a great contribution to that vision. So when I was asked to make this presentation, I was trying to think about what makes me excited about working for DAI and why I started working for them in the first place. And then I did what I pretty much did before I signed my first contract with DAI, said I Googled it. And what comes up when you Google DAI is this map. Now this map shows the dark green countries that we're currently working, and all the other ones are the ones we've worked in at one point or the other. So it's a pretty big company by now, and it further tells you that it has about 2,500 employees and 150 current projects, and we're currently working in 90 different countries. And we have headquarters in the UK and in DC. And I felt, well, that sounds really terrible. That sounds like big corporate offices and dusty shelves and people who are completely detached from the real work that we all want to do. And then I dug a little deeper and into the history. And I learned about these 3 students in their 20s who went on a Peace Corps, worked all over the world, then graduated from Harvard and decided surely there must be better ways, that was in the early 70s, of doing development and to making a real change to the real people in all these countries. And they founded Development Alternatives, DAI. And I think why I'm telling you all this is because a lot of this is really still the spirit. Yes, it's a big company, but as we can see here in Spark today, it still has the spirit. There's still individuals who are ready to, roll up their sleeves and work with their partners to contributing to this change. And some of this change really, it's impressive what was presented today, and there's much more than this. So that's really still the spirit. And the approach to working really is about partnerships, it's about innovation, and it's about action for real impact for real people. So we work in a couple of different areas. We work in economic growth, governance, health. We work in ICT for development. We work in stability, and we work in climate change. So, what does that mean? Sounds very grand, partnerships for innovation, action for impact. But I think that's really the core of what we do, and it's at the core of what Spark has done, as we can see. So let's talk about those 4. Partnerships. It's really about working with partners, with all of you, with our partners in governments, with our partners in civil society, in the private sector, and across the board. And I think tonight is just, or today, is just a grand example of how important that is to work with together in partnerships. It's about facilitating dialogue, it's about brokering partnerships. And we've heard the great example of the governance forum today, prime example of that. But it's also in projects like in Sierra Leone, where we link up women and girls with traditional leaders and legislators to make sure that they have better and more equitable access to justice. But it's also about innovation. It's about thinking outside of the box. I think we heard a lot of innovations today, and we heard a lot of really exciting examples. So I think it's really about not coming in with the right answers, but working together to think about the right questions to find appropriate solutions. It's about sharing ideas. It's about the resource center. Wonderful example. It's about leaving something behind. And of course, it's about using technology. Technology use can range from mobile phones for farmers in Bangladesh to make sure they get access to market information. But it can also range to using NASA space technology, and we've actually done this, to map climate change patterns and inform policymaking in more than 40 countries in the developing world. So it's a lot about innovation, and we've heard a lot of innovations today that we hope we can learn from. And it's about action. It's about rolling up your sleeves every day, just like all of you do every day, to make a real change. And we all work in the change business, and we all know it's not an easy business, and it has a lot of two steps forwards, and sometimes two steps back, and sometimes one step back. And it's working in very challenging environments. And through these partnerships, we really believe that small contributions to viable change can be made. It's about learning and adapting to these complex environments, about learning the lessons, sharing lessons, but adopting them to our environment. I think that Abba has summed that up quite well today. And it's about engaging people for self-driven change. It's about, projects like these girls, Somali girls, who we empower to play a more active role in society through sports. But it's also about, providing fish farmers in Niger Delta with better technical skills to improve their income. And of course, it's all about impact. We want real results for real people. It's not about the systems. We want to improve people's lives. We all do. I think today has really shown it once more. And it's about building platforms for change, linking up people, brokering people, communities of practice, governance fora, and about embedding that learning. And I think, again, the Resource Center is a wonderful example of that. And so I thought what kind of examples I could give you, because we heard now, you know Spark very well, much better than I do. So I thought, let me give you a few examples of that approach, of some innovations, of some things that we have done in the past, where I think might be interesting, to learn from, and that we are looking forward to sharing in this next journey ahead of us. So just some sneak preview, let's say, of some of the examples close to my heart, I must say. So one program that we're particularly proud of is the Rwanda land tenure system, which, it has to be said with any doubt, is the biggest land regularization program that the world has seen. We identified and registered 10.3 million land parcels, which doesn't only mean that a lot of people have a proper title to their land, especially small-scale farmers who usually didn't have access to that land, but it also means that these farmers now have access to loans, access to finance, access to other official social services. So it made a huge difference. And it really drove down the costs. The average cost at the time was just under $70 per title. Now it's $7. That's a huge improvement. And there's lots of lessons to be learned about this. And a lot of these lessons are now, for example, implemented in Ethiopia and other countries, adopted to these particular circumstances. And we're very proud of that, and we've also been, shameless self-promotion, been awarded the International Development Award for this. And I think there's some really interesting lessons of how to work with communities, with land administrators, and with central governments to really get this going within only a few years and make a real change for the people. Another one that I'm quite proud of, we're all quite proud of, is in DRC. And it's also, again, about linking people and also linking demand and supply. And again, Spark has done a lot of this work, but I thought it might be interesting to bring some other examples. And that's the Good Governance Program, the Pivot program in DRC, which was working in an extremely difficult environment. Many of you might have been there or spent some time there. And we had a very difficult time of engaging with people and really driving change. And we had to be very innovative. And we found ways, for example, through democracy centers, to engage people. In our democracy dialogues, about 10,000 citizens, only in 3 of the sub-states, participated, which fueled the interest of the local government to then officially integrate public hearings, to link citizens, communities, and the public sector. We organized women's roundtables to ensure that women in the public service are particularly represented. And we've worked on IGR quite a bit, again, through innovative means, working together. The top right picture there is the market in Bukavu, where we've come up with a community of practice, with a partnership between the vendors in the market and tax collectors, to make sure that tax is effectively collected, but at the same time collected in a way that is transparent and doesn't undermine the abilities of the vendors in the market. So those are just some of the selected results. Another example is here, in the Niger Delta, where we've come up with a pilot project supporting fish farmers and to provide them with skills, to build some capacity of professional organizations, and to improve access to new technology and finance. And within an incredibly short amount of time, it had results, and it increased the money in the pockets of the fish farmers by reducing the rate of deaths of fish, for example. And within less than a year, 96% of the farmers have adopted these practices. And not only that, have used these practices, collectively got together, and went out there and educated other communities of fishermen on how to use these new technologies. So I think these are all really good examples of real impact for real people on a relatively short turnaround and in a challenging environment. And lastly, I know there is quite a big PFM community in the room, I think. So I thought I'd add some on the tax reform and fiscal reform work that we've done. The Jordan Fiscal Reform Program has started around the same time that Spark has done. And it's worked very closely with different public sector counterparts in the Kingdom of Jordan. From central government to revenue authorities, to the Ministry of Finance, to the tax collectors on the ground, to really roll out an entire financial management system. But also to make sure, similar to Spark, to have clear, transparent budget execution. What was more important to them, though, is to, we all know it, IGR is the backbone of any economy, especially if you're volatile to external macroeconomic shocks. So what they have achieved is within a year, they've increased the income and sales tax revenues by almost 9% without increasing a single tax rate. So that's a real result. That's real money in the government that can be spent for better services. And about 80% of all the Kingdom of Jordan imports now are integrated within a single window, which means it makes it more efficient, it's more transparent, import taxes come in more accountably and more transparently. Again, real results, real money that can be spent on services. So you can see, these are just some very few examples, but you can see the range is quite wide. It goes from Rwanda land tenure reform to DRC demand side, to Niger Delta fish farmers, to fiscal reform in the Kingdom of Jordan. These are just some few examples. But I think it shows that these principles of partnership for innovation, for action for impact, are very important. And there's a lot of really exciting, innovative lessons to be learned that can be applied to this context. And can be learned from, and can be learned from in the long run. So we are very much looking forward to continue this journey. We are very much looking forward to continue this partnership, to innovate together, to drive action, and to get some real results, some more real results. And we are very excited to embark on this new journey together. Thank you.